Obviously, the game series of WWE 2K needs a lot of improvement. There's a lot of things that have been included within these new games, a lot of things that have been taken out of the games over the years. Today, I want to share with you guys my thoughts of some of the things that should be added back into the game. With that being said, if you haven't already, hit that follow and subscribe button to keep up with more WWE 2K content. Without further ado, let's get into it. And one of the first things that come to mind that need to be improved within this game is the ability to actually go backstage within a Falls Count Anywhere match. This has been something that I feel was in the game before, and it's been taken out of the game now. And quite frankly, it's just one of those things that just does not make sense to me. And the reason why is because I feel like a game mode like Falls Count Anywhere has fallen flat. It's fallen into this place where it's not living up to its name, Falls Count Anywhere. And based on what we know from the history of wrestling, Falls Count Anywhere means in the ring, outside the ring, in the crowd, and even backstage or in the parking lot. That's what we've come to know Falls Count Anywhere is being, is that you can be in the ring to get the pinfall, you can be in the parking lot to get the pinfall. It don't matter. It's anywhere in the arena, period, that you can win this match. And this match has turned into something where it's literally just in the ring, outside the ring, or in the crowd, and that's it. It's nowhere else. And, I feel as if WWE 2K needs to add back in the feature to be able to go backstage again and have a backstage brawl within the same game mode of Falls Count Anywhere. It only makes sense because when you talk about people playing this match and the match actually living up to its name, it needs to be there for substance value, but it also needs to be there from a substance value when you talk about people playing game modes like Universe Mode. Universe Mode needs this so desperately because it already lacks so much within the realm of cutscenes. Not having certain cutscenes to keep people intrigued in the stories is already a hit. But then to have game modes like Falls Count Anywhere where you can't even kind of tie two matches into each other, intertwine it, where it feels like the rivalry is more intense than just the surface, as far as, this rivalry is heating up. Like, this is going from being in the ring, in-ring action, to translating all the way into backstage brawls. It makes for higher quality of matches, in my opinion. And it's one of those things that was in the game that needs to be brought back. Simple. Another thing, in my opinion, that needs to be brought back is better weapon physics. The weapon physics have not been that good, in my opinion, since SmackDown versus Raw 2007. I feel like we've come so far from the THQ era, and we still have not really seen these wrestling games live up to the type of quality and variety that the games that we grew up with Ukes and with THQ, what they were developing. We still have not seen the games of today match up and live up to that as far as the possibilities of what you can do. The weapon physics back then were so much better from a standpoint of being able to actually set up the ladder where you want it, how you want it, right? Being able to actually slam opponents onto ladders, slam opponents onto tables, slam opponents onto steel steps, right? There's all of these different things that you can do. Climb up onto objects and then jump off of them, kind of like what they just reintroduced with climbing the ringside barricade. It's like we were able to do that back in the day. And this is what we're calling a new feature coming into the newer games in the franchise. This doesn't make much sense to me as far as developers adding things into the game that used to be in the game and calling it new to us when whole time this is not new to us. This is something that has been around for ages. It's just now coming into these newer games, and it's not making much sense. And why it doesn't make much sense is not because 2K hasn't had time to develop. Why it doesn't make sense is because we're so much further in the advancement of technology these days that it kind of feels like this game that we love, this series that we love of wrestling games, is falling behind compared to all these other sports games. It feels like our game has not evolved while everybody else's game has had much more evolving going on within it than our game has. And for me as a fan, that's concerning because I want not only the best wrestling game that there can be, but I want everything within the realm of wrestling to be prospering, to be doing well, to be doing good, and keeping up with the times that we are in. I feel as if there's things like even graphics that have been the same since like 2K22. We've been having the same type of graphics where, I was playing the game with my wife the other night and she was looking at it and she was like, man, this game looks kind of old. And I'm like, this is the newer game. And it's crazy because the superstars look their best when they're coming out in their entrances. But when you get into the match, they start to look really fake. They start to look like, you're still playing PlayStation 4 on a PlayStation 5 running at 4K, 60 frames per second. And it's just because you got all these other games that are using Frostbite engine, Unreal Engine, all of these other engines where their graphics are better, even NBA 2K, the same developers in the sense of being under the same brand, has better graphics than WWE 2K. And this is why I'm just really not fully understanding why is it that we're here and how are we here? How is it that we got to a place where old features that made the game fun and made the game feel like wrestling in real life and where the possibilities were just endless of what you can do? How did we get from that to this place where we're now here with a broken wrestling game, it seems, and we're adding stuff in from the past and calling it new? But then when we're getting these new features, it's only 1 or 2 new features for the year, and we're just supposed to accept that and just be like, oh yeah, there's been a whole lot of movement, a whole lot of moves being made. I just don't think that is right. I just don't think that is fair. And I just personally feel, as someone who wants to see the product prosper, if you need to take a whole year, another whole year off, like 2 years to truly develop a game fundamentally that fans truly want, like giving us better weapon physics, making it easier for you to unlock characters, the ability to travel backstage during Falls Count Anywhere matches, having injuries come back in universe mode and then translate into a storyline, having limb damage system mean much more and how they sell, and all of these other things, even squash matches, like having squash matches come back and more variety to finishes of matches. So every match doesn't have to feel long that you play. Some matches just feel like, boom, this is in and out, easy, and it means something storyline wise if you're a person who's playing universe mode. Like, I feel adding all of these things back means something. It means so much more than an island mode. Like, I'm going to go out and say it, and this is not me trying to crap on you guys. This is not me trying to crap on 2K at all. This is me just keeping it a stack. Like, I'm not trying to talk down on the franchise. I love a lot about this game. And I share my love for this game by sharing the product and spreading positivity and light on the game all the time on my platform. However, I feel it is important for us as the consumers to voice our opinions and voice our feelings about where the current franchise is and how we feel about our investment that's being made in this game from a standpoint of money and time, right? And it's just like, if I'm going to put my money and my time into this product, I want to know that you guys are actually listening to me. I want to know that my voice, alongside anybody else in this community who's investing their time and their energy into this and their money into this product, that we're being heard. Because I truly believe nobody asked for the island. Nobody asked for the island. And here we are with a brand new game mode that no one asked for in the wrestling community. I personally feel, I could be wrong, but not a lot of people have been asking over the years for the island. We've been asking for some of these small quality of life features that we had back in SVR 2007, right? SVR 2006. We've been asking for these quality of life things that we had back in the old wrestling games, back into the new wrestling games, that actually made the wrestling games fun and playable. The blend between simulation and arcade, a perfect blend. And all we've been asking is for that, and for that to be built upon, where things like the island would be more welcomed if quality of life updates are happening more often than not. If we're not getting things like that barricade thing where we're climbing up on there like we was not climbing up on the SmackDown fist back in the day, like we were not going into the crowd in SmackDown versus Raw 2007 and climbing up on top of the stereo set and jumping off. Like we acting like we have never done that before in history. We acting like we making history by adding these things back that, once again, they should have never been taken out. And I just feel like these are not things, as developers of the game, that you should feel proud about, because of the simple fact it's already been done so long ago with weaker and lesser technology. The things you feel proud about are things like the island, if you have a solid game that is standing on, right? Island is a great creation if it has a solid foundation that it's standing on. You feel what I'm saying? GM mode coming back into the franchise is a great thing if it has a great solid foundation that it's standing on. All of these things are welcomed by us. It's just, you don't have a game that feels fresh and playable throughout the year. After a certain point in time, there becomes a conflict between the people making the game and the people purchasing the game, playing the game. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that you guys should truly take 2 years off, if you need to truly just make the best wrestling game you can make. Updating graphics, updating weapon physics, updating submission system, updating everything. Online servers, everything. Because as a fan, even though I would miss new games coming out frequently to just tap in with something new, something different, I would rather know in my heart and in my mind that the developers care about me as a consumer so much, me as a wrestling fan so much, that they're willing to take some years off to actually make a good game for me and my fellow compadres that play the game and invest in it. Then for us to be sitting back here every single year, basically with almost the same game, not necessarily the same game. There's things you guys have done and added in that have been good. But for the most part, a lot of the things that you guys aren't doing right are definitely outweighing the things that you guys are doing good. And I think that's a problem. I think it's a problem feeling like we've been playing the same game year after year after year after year. I think that's an issue. And I think it's a valid issue that we are expressing and we are bringing to you guys' attention. I do believe that sometimes the community does get a little bit out of hand, and sometimes it's asking for a little bit too much. I get it. I agree I think sometimes this community can be very selfish and very greedy and very inconsiderate and very entitled. I truly feel like that. But I also feel like at the root of all of their frustration and their concerns, at the root of that is nostalgia of good games from their past, from their childhood. But also outside of nostalgia, I think it's also a feeling of just knowing that there were developers that made these games that listened to their voice. There were developers that made these games that listened to their voice, and the kicker, did more than what we were even asking for at that time. And I just feel like 2K, I believe you guys try to do this, but I just feel like right now, the franchise is in need of a breath of fresh air. The franchise is in need of a reset in the sense of not completely remaking the whole system, the combat system and all that. I think that's great. I think the fighting system's great. It can use a little bit of tweaking with the submission system and other things like that. The whole grappling just to do moves and all that. I think there's a lot about it that can use a little bit of tweaking, but it's good. It's good. I think you have a great game, but I think you have a game that can be added upon. But I feel like it starts with getting back to the basics of what makes a great wrestling game a great wrestling game. Not how can we add in more modes for people to play like my faction to, get into people's gambling and addiction systems and money. I get making money, but I just feel like it's like sometimes it feels like this toxic approach of, getting people hooked into gambling. If you spend money on this ticket, you scratch it off, maybe you might end up winning something that isn't guaranteed, and people get so, invested in that thrill of thinking that they're going to win something or get something that's not promised, that they end up spending more money than what they need to be because they truly just desire to be satisfied. And this is why I say making characters easier to unlock within the game. It's like this should be a no-brainer. It's like as a company, let's be more aware of also our consumers and how what we're putting out affects their livelihoods as well. Because you're not the one pressing the button or pulling the trigger on someone spending their hard-earned money on anything. You're not forcing no one to spend money. But what it's doing is it's causing people, it's playing on people's weaknesses in life. No, you can't win them all, but you can be a company that is very conscious of these things, of people's gambling problems, of people's, you can be more aware of the human element to things and how it's okay for you to have microtransactions in your game, but make sure that the prices are reasonable and make sure that what people are actually paying for within the algorithm and the system of your game, more times than not, they're actually getting what they're trying to rip these packs for so they can actually unlock the character they want without having to spend extra additional money that they don't have or they do have, but it's still absurd for the average consumer. And all of their time and energy into playing these matches as well in addition to these things. I just feel like there's more of a consideration as a company that you guys can take when it pertains to not just people liking your game, but people as human beings and how these things, as you putting out the product, affects people's lives. Because there's a lot of people who care about wrestling and everything around it, truly. And these are the same people that keep you guys in business. These are the same people who have that fire and that passion to see everything regarding wrestling prosper. And they're willing to spend their money. They're willing to give their life. They're willing to do whatever to be a part of something that is so special in life. That is professional wrestling and sports entertainment. So with you guys being a part of carrying that torch and being a part of that growth and development and impact within the culture of wrestling, you guys got to listen to the fans as much as you guys are out here trying to make money as well to profit off of the fans. I'd rather make a good game than to add a whole bunch of features that make this game even worse or make this game stay in the same place every single year. I'd rather be the bad guy for doing what's right than try to be praised for being the good guy for doing what's wrong. So I hope that this year, going into 2K26, based on the development that's already been done and is in progress, or the development that can come going into 2K27, I really hope that our voice is heard and that you guys put out a great product. These are my thoughts on what I would like to see brought back into WWE 2K26. And, you know, I just, like I said, I hope that, you know, our voice is heard and our voice matters, you know, and we see more development changes than just 2 or 3 things that are meant to be, you know, things to just anchor onto for the next year and just have to sit there and be satisfied with that. You know, I just hope that we really get a reskin of the game and we're buying a whole new game next year, not a game that we've been having for the past 3 years, 4 years. But with that being said, if you enjoyed this video, please like this video. Show some love by sharing it with a friend. And most importantly, follow me for more WWE 2K content. And as always, thank you for your support. And until next time, keep creating.